are you?
Hey Arpita, good morning. Doing well,
Good
thank you.
morning. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for doing this, taking out the time for this initiative.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Um,
Right.
firstly, how do you think our jungles are doing in this lockdown? Are the forest guards still guarding our forests? Oh, what's the information you have? Because
Yeah,
poachers
I,
will
I
be
think
active right now. Could be.
I think some places are really doing very well. Like for example, without tourist people, crowd, they are thriving. But some places are also prone to things like these poachers going in easily now. Nobody to care for. There's nobody doing rounds and safari. So it's I think two sides of the coin. Some places are really doing well without too many, because it was a peak summer, March, April, and now May, where maximum number of jungle tourists would be there. So in some places, I think it's a relatively, blessing in disguise. But in some places, people have taken advantage, especially people who want to misuse the forest and do things like that. I think majority of the places seems to be doing well.
Oh, that's good to know. In fact, I'm a wildlife buff, and I had to cancel 3 trips myself. Like you said, it's the peak season.
Correct. I mean, I have, as a tourism company, more than 7 trips in March and April, to especially the tiger reserves, Tadoba, Bandhavgarh, Ranthambore. We had some trips to Africa, which seem to be not going to happen now because, Kenya has issued a directive. There's no landing of any international flight until 16th May, but it's going to get extended. So, yeah, I think all of us have suffered in some other way.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a big hit to this industry, so to speak, but also the people who service the forest, right? Even the
Right.
guides and the drivers. What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
it is seasonal, and this is the time when
sure.
they make most of their money. They are daily wage
True.
earners, right? Every time they do a trip, they get paid. Am I right?
Right, right, right. I mean, what I feel, Arpita, is I see a lot of people doing supporting initiatives like they're saying donate to the forest guards, donate to the, let's say I see some initiative where Bharatpur cycle rickshaw guides and cycle rickshaw drivers are getting some kind of donations and stuff like that. But, I feel depending on the economic status of an individual, all of us have a problem. Like bigger the person, bigger the problem. Smaller the person. When I say person, I mean the economic, bracket they come in. I do feel the people like the guides and the forest guards really have it very tough because they don't have an assured regular income, and this is something. Likewise, our maids and our let's say the cab drivers or the auto rickshaw drivers or everybody who is self-employed or is not on a payroll is going to have a very big hit.
But the good side is that I think animals are surviving much better right now, at least temporarily. But coming to the business, right? You are in the business of teaching wildlife photography, and
Mm,
uh, I know that the first reaction would be obviously to try and take that course online.
mm, mm,
Considering the lockdown, right? But what were the
mm,
other
mm,
things that you guys have done as a company? How
mm,
big is the
mm.
team in Toehold?
We
It's
are
quite
about 26 people right now.
right.
26 people.
So
Um,
well, yeah, what were
s-
your reaction?
right. So, as you said, the low-hanging fruit was taking some of my classes online. And I did that very quickly because I realized on the 23rd, 24th of March, we were home, and then we heard the Prime Minister give a one-day lockdown on Sunday. And then there were rumors on news channels that this is just a trial before the big one. And immediately I moved a couple of furniture from office home. I moved stands and lights and strobes, and you're actually sitting in my living room. I mean, you're looking at my living room right now, which is a semi studio right now. And that was the low hanging fruit. But one thing which is important right now is I had to cut corners, I had to cut costs. And for example, right now, since we have a couple of camera rental stores in Bombay and Pune, I was very quick to pull the plug on Pune. there's no point in keeping it open because nobody is going to rent equipment for a few days now. So the first step was to see where we can cut costs. It was a good coincidence for us. Some of my expensive staff, we were in the process of replacing them. Some of them left in January, February for various reasons, and I was about to think of whether I should replace them with somebody else. But I'm starting to realize the pleasure of a slim organization, and I feel I should become much more slimmer apart from myself, even the organization, because it's a big stress for a businessman to not only worry about his business and his livelihood and his life, but when employees are saying, can I get my salary on time, can you please help me, I'm not able to pay my PG, so those are things which will make an entrepreneur a lot more responsible and worried and care for employees, and it can help you, or it can make you get a little more stressed. I am thinking how I can make sure I have people working for us, but maybe not have them on the payroll, consultants and freelancers and stuff like that. Because one thing I'll tell you, Arpita, payroll is really a gift an employee can get. All these years we've been taking it for granted. Today, let's say all the employees of my company, however small my company is, uh, paying them is my responsibility. So if you're a freelancer, it's your own responsibility to struggle. So for me, I think I would love people who are still being paid and are employed to realize the importance of that salary they're getting on time, because in normal times we would probably take it for granted.
No, very well said. And in fact, that is what is also increasing the popularity of the gig economy, right? Today, I mean,
Right,
there are so many companies that don't take people on their payrolls, but have them on
right,
contract basis, even skilled resources of the
right,
highest orders. My own
right,
company,
right.
I've kept it very, very lean from the start in terms of
Mm,
investments, right? So,
mm, mm,
and that in fact even gives you a lot of flexibility,
mm, mm,
and
mm.
you can be more nimble, in terms of even the
Right.
kind of work you're doing or the kind of quality you get, the variety that
True,
you can give to your clients, right?
true, true. Yeah,
So
absolutely,
coming
absolutely.
specifically to your industry of wildlife, right?
Mm.
uh, what changes are you seeing? Are you seeing any tectonic shifts in the way we will do wildlife trips, or the way we will really interact in that scenario going forward? What are the three things you would say that you see changing in the future, and how would you also adapt?
Right. So I'm thinking, if you notice, most of the people who travel on wildlife trips, that is not a necessity. It's like something you do for pleasure, you do for a passion. So I'm starting to still do a guesswork on what could be the mentality of people, because it's not a necessity. If people don't get salaries on time, if they're not getting paid by clients on time, the first thing they would cut is their pleasure investments or pleasure trips. So for people who are in the middle class, slightly above middle class, upper middle class kind of a thing, where they're able to survive every month because of their wages and stuff like that, they would probably stop traveling as much as they used to during good times. So they would probably look at doing birding outside their cities, or going to, a maximum a Kabini or a Bandipur or a Bandhavgarh kind of a thing. International wildlife tours, I guess, will probably be a little tough to do in the near future. One is economic reasons. Two is also you're subjecting yourself to flights and long travel and going to airports and meeting people who might have infections and stuff like that. So there's a paranoia. I feel people will not travel as easily and freely as they used to before. But I think once the lockdown is open, national parks are open, even if it is not tiger reserves, people will definitely do small travel, because it seems safer to be in a jungle than going to, a multiplex in the city. So I expect business to get back to some kind of movement in the near future, though 2020 will be my worst year in revenue, like most businesses.
Right. But I think the silver lining in all of this for us nature lovers, right? People like all of
Mm,
us, is
mm,
that many have realized that nature is supreme. Many
right,
have
right,
realized that, we as mortals,
right.
isn't it?
True, true,
That
true.
that that
Absolutely.
that bit of consciousness is at least has set in some form, which makes me very happy. And
True.
it was much needed, isn't it? When all of us congregate for safaris, it's just this
Mm,
immediate connection, because we are all in that mindset of respecting nature, isn't it? Maybe,
Right.
it could be the other way around, that many who used to spend on things might just spend on
Mm-hmm.
nature now, maybe.
Right. True. Yeah, and also one more thing I was thinking of is for people who are well-to-do or people who have a reasonable source of income and stream of revenue. For them, they will still travel to nature, and because it's like a nirvana, right? So people will still want to go out. I feel there is a big bracket of people who are dying for the lockdown to get over soon, and they can get to the jungles or to the bush or to somewhere else, and that is going to definitely happen as well. So
I'm one
looking
of
forward to
them.
that.
I am one of them because I have nothing to complain about in this lockdown other than the fact that I'm staring at walls.
I see.
So everything else is fine. I can't complain, because there
Right.
are people who are in much worse situation
True.
than me.
True.
So
So, so one of the learnings also, Arpita, for me is, not just as a businessman, as an individual, what we have realized is life is not certain. Anything can change. Who had imagined a country being, put in a home for over a month now, right? So one thing it must teach people, and it's definitely taught me, is the importance of passive income. Like, for example, just to give you my own example, while we have 90% of our business which is travel related, camera photography related, um, we had a small e-learning business, like not video based conference style classes, but e-learning content which was live. And the value of that is something which I cannot express in words today, because that is something which can be done now where people are sitting at home, and that has been a saving grace for us. So I think as an individual, everybody should probably think of building a portion of their revenue as a passive income stream, so that even if they are in a hospital bedridden for 2 months, their revenue doesn't stop. Otherwise, active income streams are too risky. If you have, let's say, dengue, if you have typhoid, if you have a spinal cord injury, and 2 months you're in the hospital, you're not just spending money, you're not earning also. So I think that's something which I have learned, the importance of passive income.
yeah, that's very well put, actually. It's a good idea, where you are hedging your risks. I think what I would like to say through this call to whoever's listening, and, from our side, is that if you booked a trip, right, and you are doing cancellations,
Mm,
maybe not take a refund, right? That's
mm,
at least
mm.
that's what I did. I didn't take any refund from the guide
True,
who has
true.
booked who booked the permit for me, and I
Right,
told him to give that money to the drivers and the guides,
right,
because I will have spent that money anyway. So if I can mentally say
right.
that, what, I was going to spend that
That's
money.
That's fabulous, Arpita, because I am sitting on 7 trips of money which is at stake right now, which is a huge amount of money. I don't know what park will refund which money, which lodge will credit note, what kind of a thing. So I have most of my clients who have understood that they should not press on refunds right now, because I don't have that kind of cash. And if possible, most of them are moving it to a credit note where they can use it on a future trip. That's really very thoughtful, because if they in the non-revenue time, if they force businesses to do refunds, it's going to be very tough. That's very considerate.
Thank you so much, Jayanth, for this. I really enjoyed talking to you, and really hoping that the jungles open soon, because that is the
My pleasure.
de-stressor for me
Me
and
too.
for
Me too. I
many.
know. We absolutely looking forward to it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye. Bye.